Hi, welcome back to Random Reading Pathways. I'm checking in with a little bit of a longer update after I posted a quick short on this channel, giving a quick little glance at a dual library book sale haul that I came into last week. I have all those books with me. They actually haven't left my car yet at this point, so I figured before I officially enter them into the collection at home, I might as well go into a little more detail on that book sale haul here and just show what I was able to find. Like I said in the short I posted the other day, I tried to squeeze in a couple library book sales in a short amount of time I had, and I think given the time constraint and given that I spent less than $10 total on this haul, I think I did pretty well. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump through the books quickly. I got a mix of some trade paperbacks, a little bit of mass market paperback, and some big hardcovers. So pretty good mix of format. I figure I'll start with the books that weren't really inspired by any randomness, and I actually did grab them because I have read these before some time ago, and I did want them actually in the collection specifically, hoping to reread them at some point soon. But starting with the smallest little volume here, the very familiar Slaughterhouse-Five by Vonnegut. This is basically the same copy that I did read a pretty long time ago at this point, the little paperback version here. But yeah, this was at one of the sales, so I went ahead and picked this one up, which I have read before. And given that it's a pretty quick read, hoping to read this one again sometime soon. But yeah, I remember really enjoying Slaughterhouse-Five. It's been a little while, it's a little hazy, but obviously So It Goes, right, is the moniker that gets repeated over and over, so I'll never forget that. But yeah, I think what really stands out in my memory about this, and I'm excited to check out again, is kind of the supernatural type element to it. With all these books, I'll try not to spoil anything, major, but for those who have read it or maybe haven't, there's an element of the story that gets into sort of a alien race of sorts that supernaturally kind of have this understanding of the universe or world and time all concurrently. So they basically are able to see everything in history all at once, which is a philosophical subject that I think has been discussed in other works, but the fact that it kind of is a device that's used by Vonnegut in this story is just very interestingly juxtaposed with the fact that it's a wartime story, and the contrast in those ideas are very interesting. So yeah, this is Slaughterhouse-Five. The other book in the haul here that I have read completely, again some time ago, so it's a little bit hazy as to the specifics, but this is Donna Tartt, The Secret History. This was a random number generator pick from some years ago at this point at my local library. And I think I mentioned in my kickoff video to this channel that I think I mentioned this book as sort of a good example of what random number generator and random reading pathways can lead you to, because since then I know that this book has really taken off in terms of being a cult kind of classic and a cult favorite among many people. Yeah, I do remember enjoying the story, the characters, kind of their sinister motives, and some backstabbing and literal stabbing. And this book certainly reintroduced me to the word bacchanal, which is like an ancient Greek term for a just wild, usually sexually charged party or celebration of some sort. So I know bacchanals were happening here. One of the things I want to do with this channel at some point is when I highlight books in depth, maybe do a little quick segment on like an interesting word or concept I learned from the book. For this one, it would be bacchanals. So yeah, really nice. Looks like a book club version here for Ballantine Readers Circle, but yeah, just great. Everything I got at this haul was just great condition. So I like these trade paperbacks. So that's The Secret History. And that will conclude the books I've read in full. The next book I did start some time ago, I repeat often here, and I got a good chunk of the way through it, probably a third or almost a half, but never was able to finish it, unfortunately. So I will be eagerly doing that now, and this is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Again, nice trade paperback. This is a Perennial Classics version here. Good shot of the author there. And yeah, perfect condition, extremely cheap. I just recall kind of very compelling descriptions of the village and the town that they lived in, the family in this story. Probably because of the time that's passed, not so much else specific sticks out in my mind about the story, other than I don't know if it got into some of the magical realism, supernatural elements that I know are in the story at the point that I got up to, but I can remember there was some lovemaking going on, and it was a every night thing that one of the characters was aware of, and it was described as being very passionate, and I think that was a detail that probably clung to my mind when I was reading this, and all these years later it's still there. So but yeah, this is one I've been meaning to get through all the way for a while, and now with this copy, hopefully I can do that. So again, like I said, that's all the books I've either read fully or partially read, and the rest of these are a mix of ones that were random number generated, and also a couple that I just needed and wanted to grab. So I guess let me continue with the random number generator here. So in the book sales, I kind of looked at the different categories: mass market paperback, trade paperback, and hardcover. And if I could, I wanted to try to run the random number generator through each section and at least grab something from all of them. So in one of them, I ran the generator through the mass market paperback section, and I came up with Lisa Jackson, Absolute Fear. It looks to be kind of a murder mystery, but more of a thriller. So I would say this is categorized more of a thriller. Just quickly from the back, it says, a serial killer is stalking the streets of New Orleans. The victims are killed in ritual fashion, with a series of numbers tattooed in their bodies. There are no clues, no connections except one, a crumbling old asylum that was once the scene of unspeakable madness and is now the calling card of a new kind of fear. So yeah, seems like an interesting murder thriller, kind of dark imagery here on the front. Yeah, Lisa Jackson, I haven't read. New York Times #1 best-selling author, apparently. And excellent condition, mass market. I guess you would call this a mass market paperback. It's definitely pretty thick. This is 530 plus pages. So, but I have read a couple thrillers, and you know, I think this one I was happy to land on. It seems pretty interesting. A couple more paperbacks, trade paperbacks here that were the result of the random number generator. And I gotta say, I was kind of happy where the generator landed on these, because they already had caught my eye walking past them, and it's possible I would have picked them up just out of interest in seeing these alone. So that can happen with the generator. That certainly happens a lot. So it landed on this one. So this is The Truth About the Harry Kubert Affair by Joel Dicker. I believe a French author, and this is a kind of nice Penguin trade paperback version here. It's got the nice flap that comes out here on the paperback, which might be called a French paperback. I believe that might be the term. So on the back, we have a missing 15-year-old girl, a revered novelist, his ambitious young protege, and the race to uncover the truth about the Harry Kubert affair. There's a blurb here: the great thriller that everyone has been waiting for since the Millennium Trilogy of Stieg Larsson, which I think is the girl who kicked the hornet's nest, with the girl with the dragon tattoo, I believe. I read a little bit about this when I picked it up, and I saw some comparisons to that series, which I know was a phenomenon as well. So yeah, this one really thick trade paperback. We are talking 630-ish pages in this one, but it's just in awesome, perfect condition. And this is an international bestseller, so happy to take a look for sure. It looks like it's a bit of a mystery, but it seems a little bit more literary in scope, and certainly it's a big one. So that should keep me busy. And another trade paperback that I was compelled by when I passed it, and I'm glad the generator brought it to me. So this is the first 15 lives of Harry August. I don't know anything about it. I looked it up a little bit after I got it, and it looks to be more of a sci-fi type book. So I'm glad that the generator led me to something science fiction-y. It's not science fiction-y from what I understand in terms of extraterrestrial beings or space or traveling through space or any of the other tropes that are very common in sci-fi, but I do think it has to do with essentially an individual, assumingly this person, who sort of relives his life over and over again. I don't know if it's portions of his life or his entire life, but I believe I've seen comparisons to the movie Groundhog's Day when I researched just a little bit in terms of somebody who is on kind of a repeat loop of their life and isn't sure why and has to kind of make sense of that. So yeah, this is the first 15 lives of Harry August by Claire North. I think Claire North is a pseudonym for the author. It's either her real name and she writes as a pseudonym, or she has a real name and this is her pseudonym. I did look that up quickly and I forget which way it is, but Claire North, I think, is a British writer who also publishes under another name. So there could be other titles out there from her, but yep, just was really glad to get pointed in this one's direction since it's in just awesome condition. And to that point, the randomness hadn't led me to anything sci-fi like this, so this should be interesting. And then let me jump on this one. So this wasn't a random number generator, but see, I don't read only for random number generator. As I've said, I definitely pick books in other fashions as well. So this one was sort of an extension of an initial random number book. So in a used bookstore several years back, the random number generator led me to A Bend in the River by V.S. Naipaul, which I only finally just read this year, this being the year, as I've said on this channel, where I finally started reading through my TBR pile on my bookcase. So I read A Bend in the River by V.S. Naipaul this year. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good story. Interesting connections between the characters and dialogue and everything. And so I saw at the book sale another Naipaul title, which was a really nice little hardcover in good condition. So as kind of an extension of reading my first V.S. Naipaul this year, I picked up Half a Life by the same author. And I'm really not sure what I'm going to be getting into with this one, but it was just a really nice copy. Had kind of the cool edges here on the book. And yeah, I was struck by the cover. I mean, that's just the color palette alone of that color is really intriguing. And like I said, I did like the V.S. Naipaul book Bend in the River that I read this year. So I wanted to try another one from him when I saw that it was available. So again, as an example of sometimes my reading can start with a random number generator book, and if I like it, I'll keep that author in mind if I see something again. So that's Half a Life. And saving the biggest for last, I have two giant hardcovers here. Both were $1, I believe, and both in perfect condition. So starting with a non-random book, I am starting finally to get through A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin. I finally watched Game of Thrones, the TV series, this year, and loved it much more than I anticipated I would. So naturally, since I'm reading a lot this year, thank goodness, the next step was to start on the books. So I did recently finish A Game of Thrones, and I have queued up next A Clash of Kings, but I have some other series that I'm trying to work on first. But I have been keeping an eye out for the 5 current entries in the series when I see them, to just get those on the shelf so I can have them available when I'm ready. And I found this hardcover of A Dance with Dragons by Mr. Martin himself, and this was a $1 hardcover find at one of the book sales, and I mean, it really couldn't be in any more perfect condition. It is just, it's really just excellent. It's like new condition. Original retail value was $35, and I was able to get it for $1. Flipping through it, it seems solid. It seems like maybe it was either read once or never read and found its way to me. So this is the 5th book in the series. I've only read the first, and I have the second on the shelf, but I don't have the 3rd and 4th on the shelf yet. But I will be needing this at some point, and I have a mass market paperback of the second and a trade paperback of the first book. So we'll see what the 3rd and 4th end up being when they come into my collection, but I think by the time I roll around to this, I might enjoy having the bigger hardcover version, although it's pretty hefty. And speaking of hefty hardcovers, this was the last random number generator find at the book sales. It's another one where I was walking by it and kind of caught my eye at least a couple times before I actually ran the number generator. This is a historical fiction title by Carleen Cohen. It's called Through a Glass Darkly. Just caught my eye, the size, the image on the cover, the text, the striking purple color here. It is a historical, romantic kind of fiction novel, from what I understand. This was her debut novel. I did a little research on the author. I guess it was written in the mid-'80s, and she was sort of living as a housewife and had ideals about writing, and had that ambition, but didn't get around to it to an unfortunately later time in her life, but then finally did, and worked on this epic volume here. So I'm interested in it. I think it's going to take me some time when I jump into this to try to get through it, but it's in great condition. Not quite as perfect as the Dance with Dragons book, but it looks like it'll hold up just fine. And the title's very striking. It's a biblical reference, I believe. So nothing on the shelf, well, nothing in this haul at least, was anything close to historical romantic fiction. And this is set in the 1700s in England, I believe. So I'll be interested to be transported to that world. And from what I've read about this, if nothing else, I think the common take on it seems to be that she captures the essence and the feeling of that era very well. So I'll be excited to see how that plays out. So that's Through a Glass Darkly by Carleen Cohen. And that's the last book from the library, dual library book sale that I ran through the other day. So hope those are of interest to you. If you have any insight as to those at all, please feel free to let me know. And I have finished a couple books recently. I'll be planning to hop back on with a little more in-depth discussion of some books all the way through, rather than just showing some hauls. But I couldn't avoid going into this one. I felt like I made out pretty well. So that's it for now. Hopefully I'll check in soon with some more updates. And thanks a lot for checking this out.